The fallen empire, the great halls of Korthak Prime echoed with celebration. 50 years had passed since the final human ship had burned in the void above Earth, and Admiral Zext stood before the massive viewing window of his command center, watching the victory parade below. Thousands of Korthak warriors marched through the crystal streets, their chitinous armor gleaming under the twin suns. Banners displaying the broken Earth symbol fluttered in the artificial breeze, a reminder of their greatest triumph. 50 years of peace, Zext muttered to his aide, Commander Vorthak. 50 years since we crushed the human plague. Vorthak nodded, his four eyes blinking in sequence. Indeed, Admiral. The galaxy is finally cleansed of their corruption. No more human colonies spreading their chaos. No more of their unpredictable technology disrupting trade routes. But even as the words left his mouth, a communication officer rushed into the chamber, her breathing rapid and panicked. Admiral, we're receiving strange transmissions from Sector 7 Delta. The signals, they don't match any known alien technology. Zext turned slowly, his massive frame casting a shadow across the room. Impossible. That sector has been empty for decades. Show me. The main display activated, showing a star map of the Outer Rim territories. Red dots blinked in patterns across several systems, each one representing an unknown signal source. The patterns were too organized to be natural phenomena, too complex to be random interference. Run a full analysis, Zext commanded. I want to know what's causing these signals. 3 days of analysis yielded disturbing results. The signals contained mathematical sequences, prime numbers, and what appeared to be coordinates. More troubling still, the transmission style resembled old human communication protocols, though far more advanced than anything in their databases. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility carved deep within an asteroid in the Kepler belt, Captain Sarah, Chen stood before a holographic display showing the same star map. But from her perspective, the red dots represented something entirely different. They were beacons, calling signs from dozens of hidden human colonies that had remained silent. For half a century, status report, Dr. Webb, Chen said to the elderly scientist beside her. Dr. Marcus Webb adjusted his glasses and smiled grimly. All stations are operational, Captain. Project Silent Watch has exceeded all expectations. Our stealth technology has kept us hidden from Korthak sensors for 50 years, and our research has advanced beyond anything Earth ever imagined. Chen nodded, her weathered face reflecting the blue glow of the hologram. 50 years of preparation. 50 years of watching them celebrate while we built our strength in the shadows. The Korthak think they destroyed humanity, but they only destroyed our weakness. The facility around them buzzed with activity. Humans moved through corridors lined with advanced technology, their clothing practical and efficient. These were not the desperate refugees the Korthak believed they had eliminated. These were the descendants of Earth's finest minds, engineers, soldiers, and scientists who had vanished into the void before the final battle, carrying with them the seeds of humanity's rebirth. Show me the fleet status, Chen commanded. The hologram shifted, revealing a three-dimensional tactical display. Hidden throughout the asteroid field, dozens of ships materialized on the screen. They were unlike any vessels in known space, sleek and angular, their hulls composed of materials that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. These were ships built from 50 years of captured alien technology, reverse-engineered and improved upon with human ingenuity. The Phantom Fleet is ready, Captain, Webb reported. Each ship incorporates technology from 17 different alien species. Our engines are faster than Korthak drives, our weapons more precise than Zeridian plasma cannons, and our shields stronger than Altarian barrier fields. Chen smiled for the first time in months. And they gave us all the samples we needed when they conquered those worlds. Every piece of alien technology they've used against others we've studied and perfected. The irony was perfect. The Korthak Empire had spent 50 years conquering other species, collecting their technology like trophies. They never realized that hidden human observers were watching every battle, analyzing every weapon, learning from every victory. The conquered races had fallen, but their knowledge lived on in human hands. Captain, A young communications officer called out. We're receiving confirmation from all silent watch stations. Project Revelation is ready to commence. Chen took a deep breath. This was the moment they had planned for 50 years. Send the signal. Let every hidden colony know it's time to reveal ourselves. Across the galaxy, in asteroid fields, nebulae, and the dark spaces between stars, human colonies received the message. Stealth fields powered down for the first time in decades. Massive installations that had been invisible to all sensors suddenly appeared on long-range scanners throughout the galaxy. On Korthak Prime, alarms began blaring throughout the command center. Admiral Zext rushed to the main display, his eyes wide with disbelief. The star map now showed hundreds of contacts, all appearing simultaneously across multiple sectors. Sir, the communications officer stammered, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies. It's in the old human language. Impossible, Zext growled. Put it through. The display cleared, and the image of Captain Sarah Chen appeared before them. Her uniform was crisp, her bearing proud, and her eyes held the fire of righteous determination. Greetings, Admiral Zext. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Republic, commanding officer of the Silent Watch Initiative. For 50 years you have celebrated your victory over humanity. For 50 years you have told the galaxy that we were weak, primitive, and deserving of extinction. Zext's mandibles clicked in agitation. You're dead. We destroyed your worlds, scattered your fleets. Chen smiled coldly. You destroyed our old worlds, Admiral. But humanity has never been about worlds or fleets. We are about ideas, adaptation, and the refusal to surrender. While you celebrated, we watched. While you conquered others, we learned from their technology. While you grew comfortable in your dominance, we grew stronger in the shadows. Behind Chen, the camera panned to show the massive hidden facility, filled with advanced technology and bustling with human activity. The message was clear. Humanity had not just survived, it had thrived. You made one crucial mistake, Admiral. Chen continued. You assumed that because you couldn't see us, we weren't there. You assumed that because we stopped fighting, we had given up. But humans don't give up. We adapt. We overcome. And now, after 50 years of preparation, we're ready to remind the galaxy what humanity truly represents. The transmission shifted, to show the Phantom Fleet emerging from the asteroid field, their dark hulls now visible as they powered up weapon systems that pulsed with energy signatures unlike anything in Korthak databases. This is impossible, Korthak whispered. How did they hide so many ships? Chen's voice continued over the images of the emerging fleet. We learned from every species you conquered, Admiral. Korthak cloaking technology, Zeridian energy manipulation, Altarian defensive systems, and dozens of others. You've been teaching us for 50 years and we've been excellent students. Admiral Zext slammed his fist on the control panel. Alert all battle fleets, this is a trick, some kind of illusion. But as his words echoed through the command center, reports began flooding in from across the Empire. Korthak outposts in remote systems were reporting massive energy signatures. Trade convoys were detecting unknown vessels following them. Border stations were picking up signals from ships that shouldn't exist. Admiral, a tactical officer called out, we're detecting weapon signatures consistent with our own technology, but the power readings are off the charts. These ships are armed with weapons based on our designs, but they're somehow more powerful than our original versions. Chen's image smiled grimly. 50 years of improvement, Admiral. We took your technology and made it better. We took every weapon you used against conquered worlds and perfected it. You gave us the tools and we forged them into something greater. The first attack came without warning. A Korthak listening post on the edge of Sector 7 Delta simply vanished from all sensors, leaving only an expanding cloud of debris. No distress signal, no battle reports, just gone in an instant. Status report, Zext demanded. Outpost Karadak 7 has been destroyed, sir. We're detecting residual energy signatures consistent with advanced plasma weaponry, but the power levels exceed anything in our databases. More reports followed in rapid succession. Border patrols encountering ghost ships that appeared on sensors just long enough to disable them before vanishing again. Supply convoys finding their routes blocked by vessels that seemed to materialize from empty space. Chen's transmission continued from the main display. "We're not here for conquest, Admiral. We're here for justice. For 50 years, the galaxy has lived under the shadow of your empire, believing that might makes right, that the strong should dominate the weak. But humanity represents something different. We represent the idea that intelligence and determination can overcome brute force, that cooperation can triumph over domination." The camera pulled back to show Chen standing before a massive tactical display showing the positions of Korthak fleets throughout the galaxy. Red markers indicated human positions, and there were far more of them than anyone had imagined possible. Your empire is built on the conquest of others, on the belief that you are superior because you are stronger. But strength without wisdom is just destruction. For 50 years we've watched you rule through fear and intimidation. Today that ends. Admiral Zekth stared at the display, his mind racing through tactical possibilities. The human fleet was smaller than his forces, but their technology appeared superior, and their positions were strategically perfect. They had clearly been planning this moment for decades. "What do you want?" he growled into the communicator. Chen's expression softened slightly. "We want what any intelligent species wants, Admiral. The right to exist, to grow, to contribute to the galaxy's future. We don't seek the destruction of the Korthak people, but we will no longer tolerate the destruction of others. Your empire's reign of conquest ends now." The transmission closed, leaving the Korthak command center in stunned silence. Outside the windows, the victory parade continued, but the celebration now felt hollow. The galaxy had just learned that humanity still existed, and they had returned not as the desperate refugees of 50 years ago, but as something far more dangerous. Humans who had learned from their defeat and emerged stronger than ever before. As Admiral Zekth stared at the tactical display showing human positions throughout the galaxy, one thought echoed through his mind. They had not defeated humanity 50 years ago. They had only taught it how to fight better. The Reckoning. The emergency session of the Korthak High Command convened within hours of Captain Chen's transmission. Admiral Zekth stood before the War Council, his armor bearing the scars of 100 battles, but his confidence shaken for the first time in decades. The circular chamber filled with the Empire's most powerful military leaders, their chitinous forms casting long shadows under the harsh lighting. "Report, Admiral," commanded Supreme Commander Thrax, his ancient voice carrying the weight of authority earned through centuries of conquest. "The humans have revealed themselves across 17 sectors simultaneously," Zekth began, his four eyes focused on the tactical hologram floating in the chamber's center. "Our intelligence estimates their fleet strength at approximately 200 vessels, but their technology appears to exceed our current specifications by significant margins." General Vextar, commander of the Eastern Fleet, clicked his mandibles in dismissal. 200 ships against our 10,000? This is hardly a threat, Admiral. Perhaps 50 years of hiding has made them desperate." But Zekth shook his massive head. "General, you're underestimating what we're facing. These aren't the same humans we defeated 50 years ago. They've had half a century to study our technology, and somehow they've improved upon it." Meanwhile, aboard the flagship Defiance, Captain Sarah Chen stood in the primary command center of the human fleet's most advanced vessel. The ship itself was a testament to human ingenuity, its hull constructed from memory metal alloys that could adapt their configuration based on tactical requirements. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency as her crew monitored Korthak fleet movements throughout the galaxy. "Dr. Webb, what's the status on Project Prometheus?" Chen asked. The elderly scientist looked up from his console, his eyes bright with anticipation. "All systems are operational, Captain. The Korthak have no idea what they're about to face. Project Prometheus represented 50 years of human innovation, a weapon system that combined the best elements of every alien technology they had encountered. Unlike traditional weapons that relied on brute force, Prometheus utilized adaptive targeting, algorithms that learned from each shot. becoming more precise and devastating with every engagement. Communications. Open a channel to all Silent Watch commanders, Chen ordered. The main display lit up with the faces of human commanders from across the galaxy. These were men and women who had spent their entire lives preparing for this moment, raised in hidden colonies with one purpose: to ensure humanity's survival and eventual return to the galactic stage. Friends, Chen began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. Today we face an empire that has ruled through fear and domination for centuries. They believe that strength alone determines worth, that conquest proves superiority. But we know better. Commander Jackson Reed of the stealth vessel Wraith spoke first. My ships are in position around the Korthak supply depots in Sector 12. Their logistics network is completely exposed. Captain Elena Vasquez from the Covenant added, engineering teams have finished installing the resonance disruptors on all major Korthak communication relays. We can sever their fleet coordination with a single command. Chen nodded approvingly. Excellent. Remember, our goal is not destruction for its own sake. We're here to demonstrate that humanity has evolved beyond the species they remember. We fight with precision, intelligence, and purpose. The first phase of the human counteroffensive began at exactly 800 hours Galactic Standard Time. Across the Korthak Empire, critical infrastructure simply stopped working. Communication relays went silent, supply depots found their automated systems locked down, and border checkpoints lost all sensor capability. On Korthak Prime, Admiral Zexth watched in growing horror as reports flooded his command center. Sir, we've lost contact with 47 outposts simultaneously. It's as if someone flipped a switch and turned off half our empire. Impossible, Zexth growled. Our systems are hardened against electronic warfare. That's just it, Admiral, the communications officer replied, her voice trembling. This isn't electronic warfare as we understand it. Whatever they're using, it's rewriting our code from the inside out. Dr. Webb, monitoring the operation from the Defiance, smiled grimly as he watched the Korthak response. They're trying to use their standard counter-intrusion protocols, he explained to Chen. But our systems are designed to evolve faster than their countermeasures can adapt. The second phase began when the Korthak fleet moved to respond to the infrastructure attacks. Admiral Zexth led a task force of 300 ships toward the reported position of the human fleet, confident that superior numbers would overcome any technological advantage. But as his ships emerged from hyperspace, in the Kepler system, they found themselves facing something unprecedented. The human fleet hung in perfect formation, their dark hulls seeming to absorb the light from the nearby star. But it was their positioning that made Zexth's blood run cold. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, they're in a perfect sphere, formation around our fleet. Somehow they knew exactly where we would emerge from hyperspace. Chen's voice crackled over the communication system. Welcome to Kepler system, Admiral. We've been expecting you. The tactical display on both sides showed the same impossible situation. The Korthak fleet found themselves completely surrounded despite having chosen their own approach vector. The humans had somehow predicted their movements with perfect accuracy. How? Zexth demanded over the open channel. 50 years of watching. You fight, Admiral, Chen replied. We've studied every battle, analyzed every tactical decision. Your empire's military doctrine is predictable because it relies on overwhelming force rather than strategic thinking. You always attack the same way. What followed was not a battle in any traditional sense. The Korthak fleet, despite overwhelming numerical superiority, found themselves unable to effectively engage the human vessels. Every time they targeted a human ship, it seemed to know exactly where their weapons would strike, moving with fluid grace to avoid incoming fire while delivering devastating precision strikes in return. Their shields are down to 30%, reported Tactical Officer Vex from the Defiance. But they're still not returning fire with full force. Chen studied the tactical display thoughtfully. They're testing us, trying to understand our capabilities. Let's show them what 50 years of improvement looks like. All ships, initiate Prometheus protocol. Across the human fleet, weapons systems that had never been seen before began charging. The energy signatures were unlike anything in Korthak databases, combining elements from a dozen different alien technologies, but arranged in ways that defied conventional understanding. When the human fleet finally fired, the result was devastating in its precision. Rather than attempting to destroy the Korthak ships, the weapons targeted specific systems: engines, weapons, communication arrays. Within minutes, the entire Korthak task force found themselves dead in space, powerless but alive. Impressive, Admiral Zex admitted over the communication channel. But this is only one battle. The Empire has thousands of ships. Chen's image appeared on his main display, her expression serious but not hostile. Admiral, this isn't about winning battles. This is about ending the cycle of conquest and domination that has plagued the galaxy for centuries. Your empire isn't evil because it's strong. It's dangerous because it sees strength as the only virtue. The camera angle shifted to show the Defiance's observation deck, where Admiral Zex could see something that shook him to his core. Korthak prisoners were being treated with medical care by human doctors. Their injuries were being tended, their needs met, their dignity preserved despite their defeat. "You're treating our wounded," Zex observed, his voice carrying a note of confusion. "Of course," Chen replied simply. "That's what civilized beings do. We don't fight because we hate our enemies, Admiral. We fight because we love what we're protecting." Over the following weeks, the pattern repeated across the galaxy. Korthak fleets would engage human forces, only to find themselves outmaneuvered, outgunned, and ultimately disabled rather than destroyed. The humans fought with a level of tactical sophistication that made their previous encounters seem primitive by comparison. But more troubling for the Korthak leadership was the aftermath of each engagement. Human ships would broadcast messages to the survivors explaining their philosophy, demonstrating their technology, and offering medical assistance to the wounded. They weren't conquering. They were teaching. "They're not fighting like we do," General Vextar admitted during another emergency session of the High Command. "Every engagement is calculated to minimize casualties while maximizing psychological impact." Supreme Commander Thrax, his ancient eyes reflecting centuries of warfare, nodded slowly. "They're fighting like we should have been fighting all along, with purpose rather than rage." The final confrontation came when the human fleet arrived at Korthak Prime itself. But instead of attacking the planet's defenses, they simply waited in orbit, their presence a stark reminder of how completely the balance of power had shifted. Captain Chen's final transmission to the Empire was broadcast on all frequencies, reaching every corner of Korthak space. "People of the Korthak Empire, we are not here as conquerors. We are here as teachers. For 50 years, your leaders have told you that strength through domination is the only path to security. But we offer you a different vision." The display showed images from human colonies, revealing advanced cities, thriving cultures, and technologies that seemed almost magical in their sophistication. But more importantly, it showed different species working together, learning from each other, building something greater than any single race could achieve alone. "This is what we learned during our 50 years in exile," Chen continued. "That true strength comes not from the ability to destroy, but from the ability to create. Not from forcing others to submit, but from inspiring them to excel." Admiral Zex, watching from his command center, felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: hope. "What are you proposing?" he asked over the open channel. Chen smiled. "We're proposing that the Korthak Empire evolve into something greater. That instead of conquering the galaxy, you help us explore it. That instead of dominating other species, you learn to cooperate with them. Your people have incredible potential, Admiral, but that potential is wasted on conquest." The negotiations that followed lasted for months, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The Korthak Empire, faced with the reality of humanity's technological superiority and philosophical depth, chose cooperation over continued conflict. A year later, Admiral Zex stood once again in his command center, but the view outside had changed dramatically. Instead of military parades, the streets below bustled with beings from dozens of different species, working together on projects that would have been impossible under the old empire. "Status report, Commander," he said to his aide, though the title now carried different meaning. "The Joint Exploration Fleet is ready for departure, Admiral," came the reply. "Human, Korthak, and Zeridian crews working together. The first mission is to the Andromeda approaches, looking for new worlds to explore rather than conquer." Zekth nodded, his 4 eyes focused on the stars beyond the crystal windows. 50 years ago, the Korthak had thought they had defeated humanity by destroying their fleets and conquering their worlds. But they had only succeeded in teaching humanity to become something greater than they had ever been before. The galaxy was still vast and full of mysteries, but now it would be explored by beings working together rather than fighting each other. And at the heart of this new cooperation were the humans, the species that had refused to accept defeat and had instead transformed it into victory. As the joint fleet prepared to depart for the unknown regions of space, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, now flying alongside Korthak vessels rather than fighting them. The long journey from the shadows was complete, but the greater journey into the future was just beginning. In the end, humanity had won, not by becoming stronger than their enemies, but by showing them a better way to be strong.